Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's video is going to be a hair extension update and talking about some things that I wish I would have known the first time I got them in. As a little background, I've probably had these in their Vomor tape-in extensions, had them in for maybe 2.5 years. I have a whole video talking in depth about the process of getting them, maintaining them every 6 to 10 weeks, what it's like to have them in, all of that kind of stuff that I will link to up here. This is really just going to go through some questions that you guys had for me, as well as, like I said, those things that I have learned in having these for as long as I have, in going to multiple different stylists and things that I've learned from them. So let's go ahead and dive in. The number one question I get is about damage and thinning hair as a result of getting these put in and taken out for as much as I have. And I actually hadn't had them out for all that long until very recently, where they were out for a good week or week and a half. But prior to that, I really hadn't had a chance to kind of evaluate the health of my hair, because every time I would get an old set, or just anytime in general I would get them removed, I'd get them immediately put back in the same appointment. So I hadn't really been able to see how it's affected the health of my hair until very, very recently, like 2 weeks back. And I'm kind of surprised to say it felt like my hair is thicker now than it was before I got them put in. I think I mentioned this in the very first video I make, but you do feel like you lose a lot of hair every time you get them taken out and put back in, because any hair that you would naturally shed on a daily, weekly basis, whatever, it gets stuck in the glue in your wefts, and so it's not going to come out until you get those wefts removed. As a result, you see a lot of hair shed when you go in for your appointments, whereas you might not realize it, but you aren't shedding, or you don't see what you're shedding quite as much as you normally would when you have them in. So you see a lot of hair go whenever you get them taken out, but for the most part, at least what they've told me, is that it's hair that you've already shed, it's just coming out with your extensions. And I honestly do believe that after having them out for as long as I did, because this last time when I had them out, I could actually go in and style and play with my hair, and like I said, it certainly hasn't hurt the health of my hair. My hair isn't any more thin, any more damaged, anything like that. The one thing I did notice actually, and I don't think it is, maybe it could be, but I don't think it's related at all to wearing my extensions, is that my hair has become a little bit more textured. It used to be that my hair was very much like this, naturally flat, lifeless. I would have some curls or texture around the face of my baby hairs, but if I were to try and scrunch or put any sort of texturizing spray in my hair, it would get crunchy sooner than it would develop any kind of texture. But what I noticed in having them out this last time is that in going to the ocean, went to the beach, swam in the beach, and I didn't wash my hair afterwards, which is definitely a no-no with extensions. Don't do that. It will affect the texture, so I'm told, so I just don't do it. But with my natural hair, I just decided to leave it in, see what the texture did, and holy curls. I mean, I was so surprised at how much body my hair had, when normally, like I said, it would just kind of become this thin, flat looking, like it wants to curl, it wants to do something, but it just can't. And so I was pretty pleased to say it was actually doing something interesting, which I'm a fan of. But again, have no idea if that is at all connected to the extensions in any way. Could just be how my hair has changed over the course of the last 2.5 years. But it was a nice surprise. The other question that I have gotten is about any tenderness, like does your head hurt when you get them taken in, put out, whatever. The only time I experience tenderness is if the hair or the weft is placed too close to my scalp when they first apply them. And that's just because it doesn't give you the flexibility for your hair to move up and down. And so my current stylist is really good about making sure he's super close, but not so close that it's gonna hurt to have my hair move for the next few days until it grows out a little bit. That would be the number one source of any tenderness you might experience. Otherwise, you really cannot feel them otherwise. Sleeping, it's not like when you lay down you can really feel them against your scalp. They're so thin, undetectable. Yeah, the tenderness is really only if and when your stylist will get it too close to your scalp. Taking them out, I mean, you are trying to pull and remove glue from your head, so there will be some tugging there, but I haven't really experienced time with a stylist where it was over the top painful and I had to ask them to stop or change what they were doing. All the stylists that I've had have been really aware and conscious of making sure that they're putting enough solution to help dissolve the adhesive, and then only when it's nice and dissolved, pulling it away, so it really minimizes that kind of tension on your hair and your scalp. Now onto the things that I wish I would have known known. And the first one is a real money saver, and I didn't learn it until I found my current, most recent stylist, who is amazing. I will link his Instagram down in the description bar below. But when I first saw him, I was getting a new box, or two, I have 2 boxes, so 2 new boxes of hair, brand new hair, and I had been told they would last 3 to 4 refreshes, basically 3 to 4 times getting them taken out and put back in before I had to be replaced. And he looked shocked and he was like, if we don't make these last a year, we are doing something wrong. So I had always been under the impression that I would have to buy, like, the hair is the most expensive part. It can be, you know, $500 to $600 depending on the length you get and the number of boxes you get. That's roughly where mine are. And so ever since then, I have gotten away, and it doesn't affect the look of your hair. Like, it still looks fantastic. You really can go more than just those 3 to 4 reuses before needing to repurchase. So I only recently, like 2 weeks ago, got the hair that I currently have in my head in, and for the past year, I had had the same set before that and had been totally happy with them. So yeah, that was one thing that I was really excited to learn. If you find yourself in the same boat, I would just maybe work with your stylist to, on that 3rd or 4th time that where you might typically replace them, just have a health check, like look at the health of the hair and kind of decide together that it's gotta go or you need to be replaced, and maybe ask them if you can go one more round without replacing them, because again, a year's worth of use, and it was only like the last time that I was like, oh, this hair's kind of on its last legs, the actual weft is thinning, the ends are very split, and at that point it had been cut up to my hair's length, so we couldn't really go any shorter with it. That was when we had to replace. And then the other thing that I learned, not knowing until I had gotten with my recent stylist about a year ago, is that there are like multifaceted shades that you can get. So it's basically like putting a highlight or a low light in your hair without actually having to color your hair. You're just using extensions instead. Before that, I had single tone. I mean, they were a little bit faceted, but it was for the most part a very monochromatic single tone. And this most recent time of getting them put in, I actually have 2 tones. One is a pretty noticeable blonde. In fact, I don't know if you can see it here. It's probably more noticeable if I pull it up. See, like right here, it's a blonde, but when my hair is over it, it blends totally into my hair and just gives it a little bit more of a natural, like almost ombre or balayage look to it, which I love the idea of. Thought it was perfect for summer. It blends so beautifully into my hair, and I avoided having to bleach or dye my natural hair in any way. It was just all done with extensions, which I really appreciated. So those are really the major things, or the only things I could think of, honestly, that I really wish I would have known going into it. Besides that, it really is a pretty smooth and straightforward process, especially if you and your stylist are on the same page. But I would be happy to answer any other questions you guys might have. Just let me know down in the comments below. Besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.